Thank you, Tim. Hi, everybody. And thank you to Jane and Donna for putting this great group together, this august group of folks who are interested in the future and in justice and in the legal profession. I want to start with a problem, an embarrassing gap in our legal services system. It's consistently been found in Illinois and elsewhere that the vast majority of the legal needs of the low-income public go unmet. So Mark Hart, who's here someplace there, 13 years ago did the last definitive study of legal needs in Illinois, and he found that only 16.4% of low-income people are able to find legal services to help them with their legal problems. That 380,000 families have 1.3 million legal problems a year just in Illinois, and there are 385 full-time equivalent lawyers who devote themselves exclusively to legal aid. That's one for every 7,225 or 227 poor people in Cook County, and it's worse in the outer counties and in the rural areas of Illinois. Nationally, the problem is the same, but 40 years ago, Congress began to do something about this and appropriated in recent years $350 million a year to the Legal Services Corporation. The Legal Services Corporation funds legal aid societies like LAF and Land of Lincoln and Prairie State in Illinois. Nationally, those 132 organizations funded by the Legal Services Corporation handle about 1 million cases a year. And every year, those same organizations turn away 1 million people who knock on the door, who are eligible, who have a bad legal problem that's concerning their life, and they are not served because they have no resources or because the criteria for selection of those cases is such that they're not accepted. And that's not the only problem we face with this justice gap. If you move up market, there is the latent market that Richard Granite and Stephanie Kimbrough and others have talked about that includes people who are above the poverty level. And I'd venture to say people even in this room find it difficult, maybe impossible sometimes, to afford legal services. And that justice gap is being addressed by new technologies and new approaches to legal services. So that's a nasty start. Are there some good news? Yes, there are. There are some good news stories to tell. So 15 years ago, the Legal Services Corporation obtained some separate grant money from Congress. About $4 million, I think, the first year, and about 1% or so of their annual budget, $3 million, $2.5 million, that kind of number. That must be used exclusively for technology initiatives. And for 15 years, the consistent application of that small technology initiative fund has produced some very significant successes. Every state now in the country has a definitive legal aid website aimed at the public for legal information. The best one, and there is no debate about this, the best one in the United States is Illinois Legal Aid Online, which is here. So we should be proud of that. No, we should clap for that. All right. Lisa Colpois is here somewhere, and she helped me with some of these slides, and she told me to say that. There is a national server where document assembly tools like A to J guided interviews and hot docs templates can be made available to anybody in the country, anybody in the world through the access to this Law Help interactive server. 3,000 hot doc templates have been prepared, 1,000 A to J guided interviews, and last year it was used more than 508,000 times. A to J Author, which is a project that I've been involved with for the last 10, 12 years, a surprising success in the public access to legal self-help. 3,108,000 times it's been used, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. This is creating the opportunity to rethink legal aid. Illinois Legal Aid Online has 4 websites. One faces the public, provides information and a platform for the delivery of automated services. Another faces the public with the same kind of thing, but the language is Spanish. A third website faces those 385 full-time equivalent legal aid lawyers and provides an environment for collaboration and education and sharing training. And a fourth site is aimed at you, pro bono lawyers, trying to find opportunities for them to exercise their rights and their obligations to serve the public. As I say, it's best in class. It started in March 2001 at Chicago, Kent, with the Chicago Bar Foundation and the Illinois Lawyers Trust Fund kicking in. I think the total was $2 million to start with, so it was not cheap. And it was not funded by the Legal Services Corporation. It was funded by Illinois. In addition to the 4 websites with thousands of pieces of content, each of which has been sort of supported by online live help with people who text into the screen and help people find their way around. There are dozens of A to J guided interviews and mobile access. It's amazing. We found out through the self-help web center that Chicago Kent runs on the 6th floor of the Daly Center that it helps people to use these tools if they have a human being to hold their hand, to navigate with them. And so starting in 2006, Joe Daling and a whole enterprise in the state of Illinois with Illinois Legal Aid Online Help put such navigation guides in every county in the state. All 102 counties have a self-help web center of some kind where people can go and get physical, personal help in navigating these resources. In addition, Illinois Legal Aid Online has developed ways to connect the LSC-funded organizations, and in the middle of a search for some information on Illinois Legal Aid Online, a box can come up and say, would you like a lawyer to help you with this? And you can get pushed right into the Land of Lincoln case management system and get an appointment right there if they're accepting cases in that area. A coordination that's very extraordinary. 17 million visits to Illinois Legal Aid Online, 3 million last year. So this is a little bit of a graphic 2 years ago, I think. I got this slide from Lisa. It shows somebody coming in saying, I want some help with a divorce. There were 351,000 people that came in 2 years ago and asked for help with a divorce. 116,000 used the Guide Me. 13,900 used the automated document assembly, A to J guided interview kind of tool to prepare their own forms, then went off and got their divorce on their own. This is what the Guide Me looks like for expunging a juvenile record. You click on a information or a question, and you get another list, and you sort of drill down, and this is the information that you need if you're that person seeking that help. Here's what it looks like if you do it on a phone. Put in your zip code, click a button, and you get help organizations and information that you can read right on the phone. This is an A to J guided interview that people can use in a very intuitive way to work their way through a legal problem and end up with the form they need to file in court. What is this product? A to J Author was built by Chicago Kent and CALI, the Center for Computer Assisted Legal Instruction, to help put a face to the public on these complicated legal processes and the complicated process of doing document assembly. It's been used, as I said, millions of times. It has incredible learning features, videos, learn more. You can click to any website in the world. You can put up your zip code finder. It has all these capabilities to teach people what they need to know right at the time they need to know it. And 1,725,000 sets of forms have been developed by 3 million visits with people using those kinds of tools to try to prepare their own name change petition or a notice to the landlord or a petition for protection from domestic violence. It also can be used for triage or for a standalone information guide because it has this branching capability that can be adapted directly to people's needs. And it's easy to program in this environment. And so we have now 16 law schools around the country that have courses where students build guided interviews for legal aid that go on to the legal aid websites so that people can secure their rights on their own using tools built by law students who are also learning 21st century lawyering techniques when they do that. So, a strategic sea change is possible here. A sea change. Instead of trying to figure out what 80% of the legal needs of the public we don't serve, the Legal Services Corporation, after a 2-year deep study of these technologies by experts across the country, decided that it would change its mission and nationally take on the role of using the best way it could figure out to use technology to provide some form of effective assistance, not to 20% or 30%, but to 100% of the persons otherwise unable to afford an attorney to deal with essential civil legal needs. That's astonishing. That's a big change. Here are the strategies that the Legal Services Corporation nationally suggests can be used in terms of technology to solve the problem. And if you look at them, Illinois Legal Aid Online on its own with your help and support and funding and so on in Illinois is using all of these tools in effective ways right now. 2 years ago, the Congress decided that they wanted to encourage pro bono activity among lawyers to help meet the legal needs of the poor. And they invited the Legal Services Corporation to fund organizations that would use technology to improve that source of resources. And if you look at what they ended up pointing to, statewide pro bono platforms, we already had one, and one-stop shops, which enable pro bono lawyers to volunteer, work on cases, get training, get access to case management tools, provide services to clients online, even from a distance. All of those things we can do here now. So can all this come together somehow? Is it as easy as saying it all goes together on a portal? This isn't easy, and it's going to be hard. But there are a whole series of interests that are focusing on this idea of creating a web portal for justice, places where people can go with some kind of a branded call if they want or need legal help and get directed to exactly the right kind of help they need, whether it's a self-help form, a telephone call, advice session with a lawyer, whether it's an appointment at a legal aid office, whether it's an opportunity to meet with a pro bono volunteer. These initiatives, both national and this array of folks that are here today, the Supreme Court Commission on Professionalism and the Commission on Access to Justice, one of whose members is here, probably more than one. Our courts, the clerks of the court here, law schools, state and local bar associations, the trust fund, the Illinois Equal Justice Fund, lawyer referral services, the Justice Entrepreneurs Project, the Incubator Project started by the Chicago Bar Foundation. All of these things could work together somehow to get the right people to the right resource at the right time, exactly when they need it. So it might look something like this. We'd have all these resources arrayed. And we find, looking at Illinois Legal Aid Online, that almost everybody gets there from Google. Right? We spent a lot of time when we first designed Legal Aid Online to get a structure and a hierarchy, and it turns out it didn't matter because everybody was deep linking right into where they wanted to be from Google. Right? So go with it. Go with it. I'm getting an amen, I think. So web search from Google into Illinois Legal Aid Online, where triage and referral and information and various tools are available, and then push out from that to the various places and resources that are available and make them coordinate with one another. And it doesn't have to be hierarchical. Ivy Ashton from Legal Server, who's a president of Legal Server in Illinois and has done lots of work in legal services organizations, automation, has a push to get data standards for these kinds of interactions that both control or indicate what kind of problem that you have and what kind of resources that you need to solve that problem on the one side, and also what kind of resources are available, referral tools are available to solve the problem on the other. And the notion is maybe you don't have to hierarchically structure all this. You just have to open these various organizations on the web with standard data structures to each other in ways that allow one to reach in and find the resources that are available and then refer their people to them. It's a new concept. Tom Clark at the National Center for State Courts is also involved in this process, and so maybe something will come of that makes this easy, this collaboration easy. It doesn't have to end here in legal aid, though, all right? So we have people here that are going to talk about that latent market and the commercial market for technology, future of legal services. And from Google, you can get to this statewide website. And the statewide website could push sort of leads, right? Because that's what those arrows are in that previous slide. They're leads. They're somebody with a problem. And those leads can go to the legal aid group, along the lines of the previous slide. Or why not to private practice, to modest means panels, to lawyer referral services, to e-lawyering platforms. And you know, one of the ways they monetize those environments is they pay for leads. So what we're looking for in this process, in this structure, is for the private practice version of all this to send some money back to legal aid to help make all this happen for the future.